All right, we are diving into a story where one single sentence plunges an entire nation into crisis. It's a story where survival depends on the most unbelievable events and one that pushes faith to its absolute breaking point. So let's start with a question. What does it really take to prove a miracle? What's that line, that threshold for belief? How much evidence does someone need before they just have to accept that something undeniably true has happened? This story is a powerful deep dive into exactly that. So the whole thing kicks off with this bold and frankly really dangerous confrontation. We're talking about one man's word against the power of a king and against the forces of nature itself. So you have this guy, Elijah the Tishbite, and he just walks directly up to the ruler of the land, King Ahab, with a message that is, well, it's nothing short of an ultimatum. And with that one sentence, Elijah declares a national emergency. He is claiming the authority to literally turn off the rain, holding the entire nation's survival in his hands. And just like that, the drought begins. Now, after a proclamation that big, you can't just stick around, right? Elijah now has to survive the very crisis that he just caused, and his instructions for doing so are, well, they're unconventional, to say the least. So here's the plan. He's told to go hide out by this remote brook. Simple enough, but the most crucial part, and you have to admit the most bizarre part, is his food source. Ravens. Yep, not just once, but twice a day, these birds are bringing him full meals of bread and meat. I mean, this isn't just survival, it's a daily, undeniable sign that something supernatural is going on. But here's the thing, even this incredible setup has its limits. The drought that Elijah proclaimed is so severe, it eventually hits his own refuge. The brook, his only source of water, dries up completely. That divine support line has just been cut, and suddenly, he's in danger all over again. And just when you think things can't get any worse, believe me, the stakes get so much higher. Elijah is no longer just responsible for his own survival. He's sent right into a situation of just extreme poverty and desperation. So his new instruction is to find this specific widow in a town called Zarephath, and she is supposed to be the one to feed him. When he gets to the town gate, he finds her gathering sticks, a really simple act that just speaks volumes about the grim reality of her life. And this is where you really see the disconnect, the impossible nature of his request. He asks for water, which is precious in a drought, and then he asks for bread. But just look at her reality. A tiny handful of flour and a little bit of oil. That's not even enough for a real meal. It's just enough for one final bite before she and her son fully expect to starve to death. I mean, her own words are just devastating. She isn't just poor, she is at the absolute end of the line. She's literally preparing for death. So when Elijah asks her to share, he's asking for the very last thing she has on this earth. But right here in this moment of just total hopelessness, Elijah makes this audacious promise. He offers a way out, but it's going to require an extraordinary, almost impossible act of trust from this widow. He tells her that she has a divine promise of a miraculous, unending supply of food. But there's a test. She has to make a small loaf of bread for him first, using the very last of what she has. Think about that. She has to act on the promise before she sees any proof at all. And she takes that incredible leap of faith, and the result? The promise is fulfilled. Every single day, she goes to the jar and the jug, and there is always enough flour and oil for herself, for her son, and for Elijah. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuous, life-sustaining miracle that goes on for years. Now, you would think that's the end of the story, right? The prophet is safe, the family is fed, everyone's happy. But the story isn't over, not even close. It pushes even further, right into the ultimate human tragedy, all to answer that question we started with. What does it take to truly prove a miracle? So after everything they've been through, the unthinkable happens. The widow's son, the very person she was trying to save this whole time, he falls gravely ill and he dies. And her reaction is just pure anguish. She turns on Elijah and she accuses him. She believes that this man of God, this miracle worker, has somehow brought a curse on her house. In her grief, that miracle of the endless flour and oil, it means nothing. Elisha's response isn't to argue, it's action. He takes the boy, carries him upstairs, and performs this desperate, physical, and really intense plea. He cries out to God. He stretches himself over the child's lifeless body 3 separate times, just begging for his life to be returned. And then the plea is heard. Life returns to the boy. He's alive, and Elijah carries the now living child back down to his mother. And this is the crucial point of the whole story. It wasn't the drought or the ravens or even the endless supply of food that was the ultimate proof for her. It was this moment. Seeing her son brought back from the dead, that was the undeniable, irrefutable evidence she needed. This was the final miracle. This whole story just pushes its characters to their absolute limits, and it leaves us with a really challenging question. Where is that line between an act of pure desperation and an act of pure faith? And when does a miracle become the only possible answer?